Hello and welcome back to Humble Not Timid. We thank y'all again. And for all of those of y'all who are showing your support, thank you very much. We appreciate you here. I mean, more than you know. It's not easy to come out and put yourself out here like this and talk your opinions. It's one thing to sit there and have conversations, in the workplace, quiet little corners or with individuals. It's a whole nother thing to put yourself out here and then let everybody see exactly how you feel and what you feel. Are we always right? Probably not. But at the same time, too, though, sometimes we're not always wrong either. So today's episode, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into some of the pardons that Trump did and how some people are reacting to it and how some people agree with it and some people don't agree with it. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. So you're entitled to yours as well. Go ahead and leave some comments down in the bottom. Like and subscribe if you haven't. And if you can, do me the favor and give it a share. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all very much more than you know. Humble, not timid. Another voice, another choice.
Getting mad at me playing, but they taking my place. And I'm a misbreed, homie, so they hate my race. Or maybe I'm just ugly, so they hate my face. Either way it go, homie, take the hating away. Now I'm suited in my armor and I'm just ready to play. So now put me in coach, cause I'm just ready to game. See, I told y'all I ain't going nowhere. I told y'all I'm right here, right here. I told y'all no way.
Protect and to defend us all. To say that the only reasonable response to President Trump's blanket pardon of more than 1,500 supporters who assaulted police when they stormed the U.S. Capitol 4 years ago is a shock or an outrage or a profound sense of outrage and betrayal is not adequate enough. So many of you all may not call this an insurrection, but I do. Or you may not think President Trump was at fault. I do. But there can be no disagreement, and Rep. Crow talked about this, about the impact. People died. 150 officers were physically injured that day, and many others to this moment are continuing to experience trauma that requires medical help. This was, and there's no other way to describe it.
Now, this is Chrissy Houlihan speaking right here. And you hear her, she goes on and on about different things, and she feels like it was an insurrection. And everybody has their right to their opinion, you know what I'm saying? So, you felt like it was an insurrection. She said 1,500 people who rushed the Capitol and injured police officers, which is true. A lot of things did happen that day, and a lot of things are uncertain about that day. Now, whether it was or wasn't an insurrection, I'm not going to get into that right there. We're going to leave that up to y'all, and y'all make y'all's decision on how y'all feel about that. But if you watch the whole press conference, and right before that, you had Representative Crow who got on, and he spoke about how Trump is for disorder and lawlessness. But my question to this is okay, if you're a Democrat, where was the law in the past 4 years? You had illegal immigrants come over here, which is breaking a law. I mean, if y'all want to get technical about things, well, then let's get technical about it, because technically when you come over here illegally, that is actually a felony. And if I'm wrong, then you correct me. But then even at that, though, then you have people who come into the country illegally and then continue to break laws. They see our laws and they break our laws. So where was the lawless? Where was the Biden administration during all that lawlessness? Where was the Democrats that were fighting for the people during all that lawlessness? And then not even just the illegal immigrants. How about all the people who were running around robbing stores, things like that? I have many family members that work within different stores within the community. And, some of these stores actually have rules now that you're not even allowed to stop somebody from shoplifting, from walking right in and taking items off the shelves and walking right out. So I mean, what is it? Does somebody have to die in order for you to keep the law? Does somebody have to actually? When I was growing up, man, like we did bad thing when I was growing up, but at the same time too, though, you knew it was breaking the law and you had to move in a certain way. It wasn't just like straight blatant. You could just do whatever you wanted to do. you know. And then she goes on, she's talking about, how people died that day. Well, they actually did have, and everybody already knows the reports and the different things, but they actually had 5 people die. Now, in reality, only one person died that day due to the insurrection and the actions that were happening inside the Capitol. And the one person was the Ashley Babbitt, and everybody knows that story already. Now, Miss Babbitt was a Air Force veteran. Okay. Now, she was shot by the Capitol Police. So why is nobody speaking out against that? Why is it that the Capitol Police and they sit there and they say they had guns and all this and all that, but then it comes out in the report that nobody had no weapons. Nobody stormed the Capitol with weapons or anything in such manner. You know what I mean? So why is it that all of a sudden what they did to those people wasn't against the law? And then you have some of these people that are sitting here, and we're going to go through a few of these videos. I'm going to let y'all see some of these clips, but you have some of them people that say, man, that really, it wasn't even that bad. It wasn't even that type of tension in the air until the officers actually started shooting tear gas and things such into the crowds. So don't play like this the first time that the police then stood off with a crowd and the police then incited the problems. So, and I wasn't there that day, so I can't speak, exactly on what all happened. But, some people, it is what it is. But then we're going to go ahead and we're going to move forward. We're going to listen to a little bit more of this.
This was, and there's no other way to describe it, political violence. And for our nation's commander-in-chief to literally give the worst of these perpetrators a pardon is chilling. So just in Pennsylvania alone, just up the road from where I come, 100 people, convicted felons, are free now and free to roam up to the Pennsylvania area to return to our communities today because of the actions of our commander-in-chief. By very definition, these are threats to our national security. This should, independent of our political affiliation, alarm us all, even the president's supporters, many of whom appropriately elected him because of a need, in their opinion, for a nation of law and order. President Trump and I disagree on a lot, and I'm sure that we'll spend the next 4 years expressing deep disappointment with one another, with worry and concern over differences in policy. That's normal. That's the back and forth between parties and how best to advance our country. We can agree to disagree. But blanket pardons such as these, and at this scale, are simply obscene. I have no other word to describe it. Let me repeat, this was political violence, plain and simple, and for our nation's commander-in-chief to literally give the worst of these violent offenders and perpetrators a pardon is obscene.
So then you hear her sitting here talking about, okay, well, you know what, all these people running around free, that should be an alarm to both sides. Doesn't matter what side of the party you're on. But then at the same time, too, though, I mean, and then I like the line that she throws in there, blanket pardons. Blanket pardons should be of concern. So I try to look, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong if I missed over it, but I didn't see her say nothing about the blanket pardons or the preemptive pardons that Biden gave. See, this is the thing that kills me. Is and I'm like I said before, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but at the same time too, I'm not a dummy. We're not going to sit here and play like one side's all holier than thou when the other side is playing the game. You're mad because if they played the game, they played the game, and then they listen to the people, and they're giving the people what the people want. Because the reality of it is Biden just gave a whole bunch of pardons right before, and then waited to the very end to give the final pardons, and he threw one of the people responsible for COVID in there. So how'd that work out? And why you not mad about that? Why you didn't step up and say, oh, how dare Biden, and we need to clean up our side of the side of the alley, right? But then it's crazy, and then you're sitting there saying that these 1,500 people that got pardoned, it's a threat to national security. But the reality of it is there were some people that did some bad things, and then there was a lot of people who got in trouble that was just there that day. They did not do a lot of bad. Not everybody that was there that got harassed by the FBI, excuse me, or got put into jail actually did criminal acts. So now all of a sudden you feel a way about it, but it's just a joke to me. But then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna keep on listening. And I'm gonna give you a little bit more of what this is gonna sound like.
Thank you, Christine. And thank you, Dan Goldman, for organizing this, and to Jason and the officers. My name's Eric Swalwell. I'm the son of a police officer. I have two brothers who today still walk the beat. I'm a former prosecutor, so I can tell the difference between a cop and a convict. And Donald Trump just unleashed and released into our communities over 1,000 criminals, many of them who committed
Now,
violent
Congressman here makes me kind of laugh a little bit because he's sitting here talking about Trump just released 1,000 criminals, and he knows what he knows what a criminal looks like. But if that's the case, then why did y'all arrest a bunch of people that actually weren't criminals, that didn't do nothing, that didn't, a lot of people, I don't know if you've ever been in the type of situation where you're in an area that has that many type of people. Y'all remember back when they had the Black Friday type of deals, right? I went to one with me and my wife once, and let me tell you, it was the first and last one me and her went to, because it was a crazy event. Like, we're standing there, the doors was ready to open, and then when they opened the doors, it was like mob mentality type of situation, So within seconds, people started moving. I mean, me and my wife was arm to arm, and then all of a sudden, man, we were split apart, and got to a point where I ended up almost getting into it with a security guard, because he trying to pull people through the doors, and he literally pulled me to the side. I had to grab him back, like, hold up a second, But that's a mob mentality. So the thing is whether or not it was a setup or anything like that. When you got that many people together in one area, and then all of a sudden, boom, things start happening. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was some people who took advantage and went crazy. I mean, we're not, it's funny how you can't speak about the BLM riots without saying, oh, these people weren't all bad, but yeah, look at all that crap that happened. But okay, then you turn around though, man, and you try to say that a criminal when you see one. Well, not all these people were criminals, so how come you couldn't see that? I just find it funny listening to him. But we're gonna listen to what else he says here.
Many of them who committed violent acts, and nothing about what Donald Trump did erases what those individuals did on January 6th. Nothing erases what they did, but we should erase this concept that Donald Trump and the Republican Party have the backs of law enforcement officers. Donald Trump does not back the blue. He backs the coup. And this action makes that absolutely clear. I was in the chamber on January 6th, and I'm eternally grateful to Officers Hodges and Dunn, Officer Mike Fanone, Sergeant Ganell, Officer Sicknick, who lost his life that day. And I want to just remind everyone, particularly my Republican colleagues, that these individuals were not convicted at jury trials. Overwhelmingly, they pled guilty. And it's okay if they were convicted at jury trials, and some of them were. But overwhelmingly, they pled guilty. They confessed. They pled guilty because they are guilty, including the individual.
And here you go again. He's talking about, nothing he does erases, what they did that day. And the thing is, I don't think it's even about erasing it. It's about him setting the scales right. Not only that, he's a man of his word. He campaigned. He said, I'm going to do this. And it happened. He did it. So they're mad now because he did what he said he was going to do. But then again, Biden said, I wasn't going to pardon my son. And what did he do? He pardoned his son. So I guess y'all actually like people who lie to you. So I guess that's what that is, right? So you're a good guy if you lie, but you're a bad guy if you tell the truth. You just don't like the fact that he actually stood on his word. But whatever. But then they sit there and saying he's trying to say that, they're not really for the back the blue. But then at the same time, too, though, past 4 years, they try to defund the police. They let in 10 million criminals or not even criminal. Well, criminals technically, I guess, because technically coming in illegally is a crime. So they let in 10 million criminals. Now, whether or not they're bad people or not, we'll leave that up to God. That's a moral situation. But at the same time, too, though, by law, they did break the law. And the Biden administration helped them. They paid for it. Brought a bunch of them over here on buses, planes, all those type of situations. Y'all know y'all been watching the stories. So you let in 10 million criminals. And you're talking about a national, these people are talking about national security problems. Come on, miss me with that. Miss me with that. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. But then, and they're not for the police, right? They're not for the police, or they're not for the police that you're, over here promoting, because those police got your back right there, right, buddy? But whatever, and then, it's just, it's funny to me because you got two sides of the spectrum, and then one side of it, man, they're not even downgrading or dogging out Biden for his pardons and the things that he did. I mean, you look at it like this: Biden pardoned 37, or he didn't pardon, but he commuted their sentences. 37 death row inmates, right? Now, you look at it, and let's see, out of the 37, which all of them was killers pretty much, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I want to say all 37 was killers. I might be wrong on that. I went and looked up a bunch of these things, but it's crazy too with some of these people. See, so then like you got, Shannon Goski, who was convicted of murder of another prisoner. Then you got the Billy Allen and the Norris Holder, which were bank robbery and killed a security guard. You got Barn killed an ex-girlfriend, you know what I'm saying, and then killed another man in a carjacking, you know what I'm saying. Then you got Bashan and Evan Fawkes. They kidnapped and killed a woman after escaping prison. So this was prisoners that broke out of prison, kidnapped a woman. It led to her death. But okay, I guess Biden's pardons make sense though, right? Okay, whatever. And then you turn around, and then this is the one that's a kicker to me. So you got Lee Davis, who was a police officer, who actually ordered the death of a witness that was a witness in an internal affairs case that was investigating police misconduct. Made me get that all wrong. Y'all got me all messed up. But so they're actually doing an internal affairs case on a police officer. Okay, so you're talking about back to police. So this man, who was a cop, had an informant killed because the informant was giving up information on the police to the internal affairs. And Biden took him off of death row. But he's all for the police, though, right? The Democrats are all for the police. But whatever, I mean, that's what's making all this a joke to me. But we're gonna go ahead. Let's go ahead and listen to a little bit more of what the congressman has to say here,
including the individual who brought the most trauma to Officer Fanone by tasing him, causing a heart attack and a traumatic brain injury, now released into our communities. So why would Donald Trump do this? He's doing it because he knows he is principally responsible for the violence on January 6th. And so for Donald Trump to self-exonerate, he has to exonerate them. And if he exonerates them, then he believes that his own hands are clean. They're not clean. We're not going.
Now, I mean, this is what kills me. So you're going to use the logic that the reason why he did it is to clean his own hands, to exonerate himself, because you know what? I washed my hands by letting y'all go because it was really my fault. But if that's the case, then once again, why did Biden pardon Fauci? Why did Biden pardon all his family? Why did Biden pardon all these people? Was it to exonerate himself? Was it to make himself feel better? Because you know what? I know y'all did all these crimes, but I'm going to let y'all free because that's going to clear my soul. And it sounds funny to me. It's funny to me.
Good afternoon. Forgive me for the Fetterman get up. I like to be comfortable talking about uncomfortable things. Was just going to talk off my head, the top of my head, and I know I could get a little carried away, a little emotional, angry. And if you're not, something's the matter with you. But I did write down something that I did want to make sure that I say. Donald Trump made what he did a campaign promise. He was clear about where he stood. He was proud of the people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. He made this very clear on January 7th, 2021. Anyone pretending to be outraged and shocked and surprised, you just haven't been paying attention. The Republican Party has long claimed to be the party of law and order. Back to blue. However, many lawmakers' silence and refusal to push back against Donald Trump's actions make it incredibly hard to take that claim serious. Many of the officers that were brutally assaulted that day are the same officers who protected Donald Trump on Monday. Think about that for a minute. Just sit with that for a minute. The same people that Donald Trump sent to a mob to attack are the same people that made sure he was safe on Monday. They're the same officers.
So now, not to downplay the way this man feel, I get it. You know what I mean? I would feel away too. You come and jump on me, I'm gonna feel away. But at the same time too, though, he is right. I mean, like, you know, the same people that got attacked that day, which is, and it's funny because they want to always say the same people he sent people to attack, but whatever. But the same people that got attacked that day, the same people that protected him. But at the same time too, though, if them people if all of them felt the way you feel, truly in their hearts, every single one of them felt that way, would you not think that, you know what, I'm not going to work today. President, no president, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because if they really feel like you feel. But then they'll play it down to, you know, oh, well, everybody's got to keep a job. Okay, well, exactly. Everybody's got to keep a job. So I'm not knocking the way he feel. I get it. I understand. You know what I mean? Like I said, I would feel away too if you attacked me.
Sure, I said. Now I'll just rant off the top of my head. I'm upset. It's been 4 years of us. He's off. Danny, Sergeant Gunnell, who's not here right now. Sergeant Gunnell would love to be here right now. He's struggling, like a lot of us are. He would love to be here. We've been saying the same thing for 4 years. A lot of reporters called me and asked me to react to the news of the pardon. What more do you want me to say? What can I say differently that I haven't been saying for 4 years? His supporters, his encouragers, his enablers in Congress didn't say anything when Donald Trump told you exactly what he was going to do. My outrage, sure, it lies with Donald Trump. It lies with, absolutely. But I think I'm more upset at the people who are more surprised now and shocked now that Donald Trump did what he said he was going to do from the start.
See, and then this is the thing right here that kills me. So they say, oh, his supporters, and he killed me with that move right there. But, and I get it, you're frustrated, but he killed me with that move. Like, see, and this is how I feel. So you feel frustrated because you don't understand how folks is looking at things. But at the same time, too, though, we feel frustrated on the opposite side, people who have common sense, because we not understanding how you feel about things. Because how is it that you're riding with us? You know what? I would have more respect for folks that said, you know what, man, screw Democrats, screw Republican. They both playing both sides from the middle, and we all looking like dummies in the end. I could respect that. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, then you politician and all that. And I get that. But you riding with a side that if you really gonna sit here and tell me that in the past 4 years you've seen our country get better, then man, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you, because there's no way that these Democrats have actually done anything to make us in a better position. I mean, they want to talk about the price of food and things like that, and the price of gas and the economic status of our country. And I really think I really think they're trying to destroy us. They don't want the country to be a country. So where is you people who are fighting for American? See, you want to cry about your American rights and the rights of the police and the people who fight. But then at the same time, too, though, man, it's like screw the rest of America. But it takes all of us to make this country. And it's Americans that make it. Black, white, brown, purple, whatever you want to call it. It make no damn mind. You know, Americans is Americans. But, and I get him. I understand his pain. Like, I mean, I don't understand exactly, but I understand the frustration part.
From the start, Christopher Wray called these individuals domestic terrorists. Y'all didn't win. Y'all not going to win. On January 6th, I was surrounded by a group of brave men and women who refused to quit. I'm really honored right now to be standing surrounded by some brave men and women right now in the Congress. I really appreciate you all. The winner writes history. He ain't win. He's not going to. I'm not going away. That's it.
So, I mean, you see him. He's sitting there mad. He frustrated. Talking about Donald Trump didn't win and all that. But he did win. So, I mean, if the winners write history, that's what's about to happen, I guess. But he did win. And then on top of that, though, man, most of the country voted for him. So he had the votes to get in here. And this is what kills me is I'm sitting here and I talk to a bunch of people as I go throughout my life, and you know, black folks to black folks and whatnot and whatever. And I'm black and Mexican, so Mexicans to Mexicans too. Mexicans, never mind. Not everybody think like you. See, you have your way of thinking, and that's cool and all, but not everybody looks at life the way you look at it. So you feel the way you want to feel about it. Now, that's all right. You have that right. You have that freedom. But the difference that I see is when the Democrats was in play, all of a sudden I don't have the right to speak. If I say something that goes against the way you feel, then all of a sudden, man, you know what? I need to shut my mouth and I need to be quiet. So you might not like what Trump say, you might not like what Trump do, but then at the same time too, though, man, you know, he at least give you the right to say it. And it ain't even him, it's the Constitution. But, you know, believe it or not, they want to say what they want to say about him, but, you know, he's standing more on it than the Democrats did. Yeah, they might not say, oh, I'm going to destroy the Constitution or do this or do that and say these certain things, but the actions and the movements they did is what actually put it in place to quiet people, to make people shut up. And yet you're riding for that. I'm not going to let you enslave me just because we the same color. That ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. So, I know, like I said, I understand the way they feel. I get it. You know, I wasn't there that day. You was the guy working. You was at work, and it was a bad day. I understand. I truly understand. You know, so from that point of view, you have the right to feel the way you want to feel. But he pardoned all those people, you know what I'm saying? And he didn't even pardon all of them. Some of them, he just commuted their sentences, which means that they're still in trouble. Their sentences just got changed a little bit, you know? So same way your Biden did his people that he wanted pardoned or commuted. So now, like I said, if you would have stood up there and you would have had a whole little rant about, you know what, all you politicians are getting on my nerves the way you're playing the game with us, then I could have respected that. You know, I ride with you, you know, on that. But when you're going to play one side and then you don't want to play the same game with the other side, miss me with that one.
Good evening. I'm here today in my personal capacity, and I hope you'll forgive me if I am a bit scattered because, as the congressman said, I've been working pretty much nonstop since last Friday, I think. For Donald Trump's second inauguration, working to make sure that everyone who came to D.C. had adequate law enforcement services, that they were protected, that the transfer of power was peaceful. It was kind of surreal on Inauguration Day, having all these people wearing MAGA hats. They saw me and they saw my uniform. They recognized who I was, and they thanked me for my service. And it reminded me of January 6, 2021, because on that morning, they thanked me for my service too. And then they went into the ellipse and listened to Donald Trump speak. And Trump was told they were armed and he didn't care. He told them they had to fight. Fight, fight, fight. And then he sent them to the Capitol. And once they went to the Capitol, they didn't thank me anymore. They called me a traitor, telling me to remember my oath. I was beaten, crushed, kicked, punched, surrounded. Someone reached underneath my visor, tried to gouge out my eye.
Now this man, he get a little emotional, and I get it. You know what I'm saying? Unless you've ever been on the bad end of some violence, I get it. I got beat up by the police. I understand. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't know that, and even at that, I still don't hold an anger towards the police as a whole. Like I said, you got bad people out there. It's a battle between good and evil, is what it is. So I understand, the frustration once again. I get it. I understand the frustration. You got your butt whooped that day. It was a mollywop. You probably could have died. It was a real bad situation. But even at that though, like I don't believe that they told Trump, oh, you know what, those people are armed, and Trump told them to go in there. I still don't believe that. I don't. No matter all the stuff we watched, all the things we've seen, everything that's out there for everybody to look at and hear and everything, I still don't see it as he told them people to go. I just don't see it. Now I understand though. Like I said, I understand. But at the same time too, though, you got to look at it like this too. They're looking at it from a biased perspective. From they were victims that day. So when you're a victim, you can have a reason and a way to feel a certain way about certain things.
And all these people were just pardoned by Donald Trump, who says that they were the real victims, that they were the patriots. I don't understand how anyone can believe that. Donald Trump, everything he is, everything he stands for is anathema to me. But he is the President of the United States, and he's going to leverage that power in terrible ways. And one of the first ways he chose to do that was to pardon everyone from January 6th. He tried to stop the transfer of power and usurp the will of the people.
Now, see, once again, he's sitting there, talking about, he is the president. I mean, and that's the thing. He's the president. So he's talking about the people trying to stop the transfer of power. But a lot of people, that wasn't their actual intentions. Like they wasn't their intent. They were there to protest. Yes, they were there to protest. They were protesters. Things happen. And like I said, me, myself, call it conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it, makes no never mind. I looked at a bunch of different things, and I've actually looked at both sides of it, because like when I first seen it, when the day it was happening, I seen it on TV. I had the same reaction that a lot of people had, like, man, this is America. What's going on? Like what's really going on with our country? But then, if you actually look into things and you actually start trying to study things, they don't just take one side story. I've learned in my life, I'm not that guy. You're not going to come to me and tell me, man, Johnny around the block did this. I'm like, oh, okay. But then I'm going to find out the other side of that story. Now, if Johnny around the block did do that, and it is what it is, and you know what, boom, you got my backing. But at the same time, too, though, if there's two sides to this story, well, Johnny around the block did this because of this and this and this and this. Okay. Because, see, they're sitting there and they're saying they're trying to put it all on Trump that this happened. But at the same time, too, though, what about when Pelosi denied, which has been proven facts, and well, let's put it like this: it was supposed to be proven, and then a bunch of stuff got deleted and dismissed, and everything got thrown out the window. And then they all got pardoned for that. So that's funny. But, you know, why is your outrage not towards the whole political parties, both of them as a whole? Because see, if you're going to sit there and say that one side failed, then you got to say the other side failed, because it takes both sides to make our government. That's the whole reality of it. And if there's a failure in our government, then the failure is within the whole government. The government failed you, not Donald Trump, not those people that day. The government failed you. Now, if you fight for that argument, then I'll back you. Yeah, I understand. I will back you. But if you're going to make it about left or right ideologies on how our country should be and how our country should go, honestly, I'm going to ride more with the right, because their ideology has a lot more common sense than the left. The left and what they were trying to do to our country is not you telling, convincing me that you're for America. So, like I said, once again, I agree with his, or I understand his frustration. I understand their outrage. You know, you whoop me, and them 10 guys. When them police that whooped me, you know what? I ended up paying fines for that, because supposedly I did something wrong when I did nothing wrong. But you know what? They played a whole little game. I went to jail. I paid fines, and it is what it is. So, but that doesn't mean that, you know, unless I'm going to go after the whole system, then it doesn't make no sense for me to sit here and whine and cry about it, you know? So, or I mean, I'm not going to walk up to every cop now and be like, oh man, every cop is bad. Every cop is racist. I mean, you got plenty of black cops, white cops, Spanish cops, whatever out there. So, you know, what are you really getting at? What is your angle here? You know, that's what I'm wondering, is what's the angle? What are you playing at?
I hope that the guardrails that remain in our government are sufficient to preserve the Republic for the next 4 years. And I would encourage everyone watching to look with fresh eyes on what Donald Trump is doing, what he's saying, and continually ask yourself if this is who you want to represent yourself to your children, to everyone else in the world, to your neighbors, your friends, to your family. Because while he has been elected, those in Congress who enable him are still answerable to you. And they're afraid of losing their jobs precisely because too many people offer their unwavering support for Donald Trump. If you begin to think even a little bit that we can do better than Trump, then their support for him might waver too. And he's not going to be able to ram through his horrific agenda quite as easily. All that being said, the people who attacked us on January 6th are free now. They can try it again. And they'll know, if they try it again in the next 4 years, they know they'll get pardoned again. But that doesn't matter. Myself, I'll be there if I'm needed. I'll do it all again. Members of the Capitol Police, MPD, will be there. Thank you.
Now, like I said, you know, I don't knock the man's emotion. I can hear it in his voice. You know what I'm saying? It was an emotional day. Most people have had times in their life where things affect you. They change your perspective on how our country, how your life, how your value, different things like that. I understand that. But like he's sitting there talking about the guardrails, and what he's really doing is he's making a plea to Congress to please keep him in check. Do not let him do the things he wants to do. But in reality, Congress is listening to, they are liable to the people. And the people, the majority of the people voted for Trump. They heard the things he was saying throughout his campaign. If they didn't like what he was saying, they would have never voted for him. They heard what he was saying and they voted for him. So see, the minority of the people that want certain things to go a certain way are trying to convince the majority when they're not listening to the majority. The majority of the people said, we are done with this crap. We do not want to play these games with y'all no more. We don't want y'all to have power because y'all have taken the power. And when I say y'all, they mean the Democrat, the left side, the people, excuse me, the people who want they want people who don't agree with them to be quiet and silenced. So we live in a land of freedom. You can say whatever you want to me. It makes no never mind. I don't got soft skin. Growing up through my life, I've been told many things been said to me. Now you put your hands on me and that's a different conversation. We can have that. But at the same time too though, you can say whatever you want. Say whatever you want. I ain't no punk about it. I promise. I mean, most of the time the words you say probably ain't even gonna affect me. But at the same and you welcome. Leave your comments, say whatever you want. It makes no never mind. And I ain't gonna cry about it. We can have a discussion on it. Doesn't hurt my feelings none at all. But the guardrail thing and the whole thing talking to the Congress and, they're liable to you, the people. Yeah. So they have to take the majority of the people and listen to what they want done. And the majority of the people said, yeah, we do want this. We want this thing to go through. We want his agenda. You say his agenda. We want his agenda. Biden had office for 4 years. 4 years before Trump was Obama. In those 3 terms, what was done that the people can look at and be like, this is what we really need. If it was as great as they said it would be, we would have voted for that. We would have been like, nah, Trump's tripping, man, and we're not gonna ride with you, Trump, and we would have let him go. But at the same time too, though, man, I mean, they led our country, and in 4 years, man. 4 years. That's a lot. But see, that's the thing. You only listen from one side of it. So then you got to take the other side of it now. So now, you have some of the January 6ers that are out speaking. And, there's one that she came out and she did say that, that she was guilty and she was bamboozled by, Trump and all his people and everything. Felt like she was brainwashed. I forget her name. I had to look it back up. But at the same, I'm pretty sure you'll see it because she's out there everywhere. But at the same time too, though, my thing is like this is did you really believe that, or did you go to jail? And when you went to jail, you just honestly felt like you had to have the back of the lady that protected you. Because she tells this whole story in her interviews about how there was a lady that protected her in jail. And I get it. I understand, you give your loyalty to the ones who had your back. I understand. I'm not knocking you for that, woman. But, then you got other people, man, that sit there and they're saying things that, they were there. They didn't do anything that was as bad as deemed for them to be harassed or put in jail or, they didn't do things that deemed for them to be treated the way they were treated. Did they break the laws? Probably, yeah. But at the same time, too, though, it's funny how the laws only the rule of law, and this is what kills me. So they're calling it a republic now, because see, that's the thing right there. In a land of a republic, and we are a republic. See, before the whole thing, they were talking about democracy, and our democracy. But now, all of a sudden, they want to spit out the word republic because in the land of the republic, the laws do rule by the majority of the people. In the democracy, the majority of the people rule. But they wanted you to believe that all their little policies and philosophies was the majority, when in reality, that was the minority trying to trick the majority as if they were the majority. But they weren't. They weren't. So now all of a sudden we're a republic. Because now what you want to do is you want to use the law of the republic to try to rein him in and not allow him to do what he do. See, the thing is if Congress does help him complete what he's supposed to do, what he said he was going to do, then Congress is listening to the people and they are doing their job. They might not be listening to some of y'all because not everybody's going to be happy, and I get it. But at the same time, too, though, they're listening to the majority, and the majority of the ones that speak, and then they use the laws. Now, I'm pretty sure they're not going to let him break no laws, and he's not out there trying to break no laws from what I see. But and nobody's perfect. He ain't God. But what is he? He's doing what he said he was going to do, and y'all mad because he's doing what he said he's going to do. But you got to listen to some of the other people on the other side of it too, though. Now I'm gonna show you this interview from Daily Signal that they did with a gentleman that he was there that day, and let him explain a little bit of, you know, what it is he went through. And he wasn't even one of the violent guys. He wasn't even one of the guys that committed violence or anything like that. And yet, they bothered him, whatnot. You know how it goes.
The first thought that came to my mind was, you have got to be kidding me. No way this is happening. Like, I'm not wearing any of the flat jacket or the military style helmets that some of the other guys were wearing. I was just a guy, a MAGA hat on. And I was really shocked when I opened a door. We had two agents turn their guns right at me. And all I could say, because my dog was, freaking out, was, please don't shoot my dog.
Siaka Mesakwa, welcome to Daily Signal. Thank you so much for being here. So we're here to talk about your experience at the Capitol on January 6th of 2021. But first, I want to get a little bit of your background. So you were the first vice chair of the Los Angeles Republican Party. Yep. And you're also a writer and actor for the Babylon Bee.
Yeah. Like, I got there after all that. So when I got there, people were kind of like hanging around. And mind you, I think one of the biggest misconceptions, because how TV can put things together and editing can work, is the violence didn't happen all over. A lot of that stuff happened in little pockets. So when I went there and I was walking around, I got interviewed when I was standing by a scaffold. I ran into some friends from Beverly Hills. I walked around and saw people were just kind of meandering around. Like, people were just kind of floating around. It wasn't like a big, fights going on or anything like that. I did see where I thought was weird, where two guys in separate locations trying to push other men to go forward. That I did see, which was really weird. And then for me, I was walking in. I went to the west side. As I was checking in, I actually even said out loud, I was like, "Hey, is this where they're letting people in?" And somebody was like, "Yeah." And people were going into this doorway, much like you would go into like a college football game or go into some type of.
Now, before we move any further with what he's about to say, I do want to go back to one point, because, they sit there and they say that it was political violence. But I honestly think that on both sides of this, they are committing political violence, because, see, what they did was they ended up using the FBI and agents to end up going after American citizens. So I know that they don't want to admit to that, and some of the agents are going to probably say no or whatnot, whatever, which I get it. They're doing their job. They're following their orders, doing their job, whatnot, whatever. Some of the people on the bottom don't know what it is that they're doing. It's the people on the top. They know. They know exactly what they're doing. So I just had to throw that in there, because if they're going to call it political violence on one side, then it's got to be political violence on the other side when you sit there and you harass these people.
Between those 3 years, I was on a no-flight list, or terror flight list. I don't know how you call it. So I was being harassed every time I flew. In that instance where I got arrested on November 30th of 23, I was actually coming back I was in the movie Lady Ballers for Daily Wire. And I'm coming back. My wife and I, she's 7 months pregnant. We're coming back to Los Angeles. We land in Burbank Airport, which is a smaller airport. So as we get off the plane, we're going to have to walk on a tarmac to go inside the building. And as literally as I step foot on a tarmac, as soon as I step foot, 4 agents, boom, Siaka Mesakwa, what? Yep, you're under arrest. You're coming with us. We're taking you for events of January 6th. And I'm taken aback, because up at this point, they know where I'm at. They could have easily called me. I would have turned myself in if that was the case. But they made a spectacle out of this, right? And I kept saying over and over, because they took me and they wouldn't tell me initially what my charges were. I'm like, first I was like, "Why are you arresting me?" They go, "You know why?" I go, "No, you're going to tell me why you're taking me away from my wife right now." And then some guy shouted, "January 6th." I'm like, "I didn't do anything." And then they're like, "Well, you're going to have to come with us tonight. We're trying not to embarrass you." I'm like, "It's too late. You did it on the tarmac where everyone's getting off a plane. It's already embarrassing now." By only God's grace, and thank God we planned this before, but Charlotte didn't have to go by herself. We had family friends coming to pick us up, and no one. And at the situation, she wasn't left alone that whole night or the next day, because think of a 7-month pregnant woman, her husband just taken away by the U.S. government. If she's by herself, her head's spinning, and what does that do to the baby? I know a lot of heard stories of a lot of people who going through January 6th got miscarriages because of the stress that was going on with the government on top of them.
Now you see, and he's not the only one who says this type of stuff. You can go back and look through all this stuff, man. You know that not everybody was violent. Not everybody did violent things. And then on top of that, you know, some of the people, not everybody was there to cause problems. You know, there might have been a few there that, you know, some people there that was the deal. But the thing is they want to throw all these people into the same boat and call all these people criminals and violent people. But the only reason why they're doing it is because they just don't like Trump. So you can't tell me it's not political on one side, but it's political on the other. When if you're not looking at it, you know, objectively as well, and you're not like, hey, well, look, you know what, those people really didn't do bad things, so you know what, we're going to leave them people alone. But then at the same time too, though, man, you know, these guys over here, they did something wrong, so you know, since they did do something wrong, we're going to go ahead and we're going after them because it's all about the law anyways, right? We're going to hit them with the law, you know. But that's not what they did. What they did was they said, oh, you're MAGA, okay, so boom, we got you, you're done. And that's all it really comes down to. It's a political game, political warfare on both sides. And you know, some of these people got caught up, and you, like you say, him, he didn't get arrested until 3 years later. I'm gonna leave the links and everything down in the descriptions. But if you watch the whole interview, man, that he gave, they had actually did a raid on his house. You know what I'm saying? Went through all his stuff and everything, took all his hard drives and all this stuff that he still hasn't got back to this day. You know what I mean? From January 6th and all these different things, you know. So they went and they harassed this man, and the man wasn't even arrested that first day. You know what I'm saying? And then they waited till 23, the year before the elections, to go and actually arrest the man. You know, and you want to talk about political moves. Why is that? Did you wait until 23 so you can make this big old political move so you can try to sway the people that, hey, we're the party of justice? Is that what that really was about? So, you know, but you watch the whole interview, and this man here, he only spent a day in jail. But even at that, though, they harassed and bothered him. And see exactly, listen to what he actually he was charged with.
They wouldn't tell me what my charges were until we got to the jail. In the car, when I'm just berating them about how they could have called me, they know where I lived. I literally sued the government for raiding my house. So they have all the information on me. And if they were going to sit there and charge me, they could have easily called me. I'm like, you know where I was vice chair. The agent sitting next to me said, well, we didn't want you to be prepared. So they did it like this on purpose to want me to be, basically caught me with my pants down, if you will. So we didn't have any way to you know, be ready to just walk in. And they let other people, mind you, they let other people turn themselves in. But they didn't let me turn myself in. And they came at me with this full force. And when we got to the jail, I found out that I was charged with 4 misdemeanors. So a raid on my house, 3 years of harassment every time I flew, and then ripped away from my wife and an arrest on a tarmac for misdemeanors.
Now, you see what I'm saying, though, right? So 4 misdemeanors warrants the FBI to raid your house, put you on no-flight list, or at least, you know, how did he put it? You know, he got harassed while he was flying, you know, and then finally get arrested 3 years down the road just so they can bring you in for 4 misdemeanors. Now, you tell me that's not an abuse of power. You tell me that's not political moves, right? So, see, this is my whole thing against the Democrats. It's not that I don't like y'all. It's not that I'm all pro Republican or whatever like that. But if you're gonna go after the government for being wrong, then go after both sides for being wrong. Because I mean, if you're gonna point out something that the Republicans are doing and you feel like it's an injustice, then you gotta turn around and be like, man, well, dang, look at what they're doing to these people, man. I mean, the Democrats did this. I mean, come on. So you're either for justice or you're just not against justice. You're just really about your side being right and your side winning. And that's what it is. You're like a spoiled kid that's saying, you know what, my side. But And he's not even the only one. But check this other cat. This other cat cracks me up, man. So he did an interview. This guy did an interview with BBC, and he goes after this lady pretty good. So he has me rolling on this one. But I'm gonna let you. This guy here, he actually did go to jail for a while.
Pleaded guilty to unlawfully obstructing the certification of the 2020 presidential election. He served 41 months in jail and was released early. I asked him about that day.
If you mean like the law that I broke, I entered the building illegally. If you mean like stopping people from stealing, volunteering to help the police, saying a prayer inside the Senate, singing my shamanic song inside the Senate, stopping people from breaking in once outside the building, and literally like facing an angry mob all by myself, telling everybody they're not going to break in, that also happened that day. It really all depends on what you mean by by your question.
Well, how you remember it?
Well, I remember it being a lot different than the mockingbirds in the media have spun it, that's for sure. The chaos and the violence that took place outside the building that day was largely provoked, as far as I remember, by tear gas, concussion grenades, and rubber bullets being shot into a peaceful crowd. It was after all that all hell broke loose. So that usually gets forgotten. I think that the whole thing has just been mischaracterized in so many ways, that myself included. I mean, people think I'm an insurrectionist or a Republican. I'm a libertarian. There's so much distortion because of the media. One of the things I like to say is you don't realize how distorted the media lens actually is until you see your own reflection in it.
Well, now is your chance to be absolutely clear about this. Are you saying you did not go into that building to try to stop the certification of the accurate 2020 US presidential election result?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I did not go into the building for that reason. And the fact that you still think that I did just shows how distorted the media lens actually is.
On that point,
because that was never my intention.
Jake,
that's never been my intention.
I'm just literally looking at what you pleaded guilty to. That's what I'm going from. You pleaded guilty to unlawfully obstructing an official proceeding, i.e.
And
the
didn't the Supreme Court say that? But didn't the Supreme Court just say that is not a practical application of the law whatsoever, and that the government was bending the law to gain convictions out of people?
Give us your...
So you see, how this BBC reporter in this interview tries to play word games, right? Because she, first of all, she throws it in there, the accurate 2020 election. You know what I'm saying? So, like, Trump says, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to leave that alone. Okay, but then at the same time, too, though, she turns around, she asks him another question. He says, well, didn't Supreme Court actually say that that's not an applicable way of using that law? So they bend the laws in order to... They bend the laws that way they can actually make a minor crime look like a major crime. And then they turn around and they want you to look like a bad guy on a level that you're really not. So let's say nobody's perfect. We get that. So say you break a minor law, you get a misdemeanor, but then they treat you in a way as if your misdemeanor was a felony, and then you're treated as if you was a murderer. Now, in the eyes of God, no sin is greater than any sin, but in our laws, we have levels to this. So, with that being said, how is it that you turn around and you're taking these people who got minor crimes and you're treating them as if they're murderers, but then you got a lot of these murderers running around free like it's nothing to do with them, But this guy, he really does. He cracks me up. I mean, and I'm gonna leave the link to this one too in the descriptions. But you got to watch this whole one. He cracks. He has me rolling on his interview.
Give us your reaction to being pardoned for that day by President Trump.
It feels just like it should.
Go on.
Well, I think that pretty much says it all.
Describe your emotions when you heard.
I think I got the news from my lawyer when I was at the gym, and I walked outside and I screamed freedom at the top of my lungs and then gave a good Native American war cry.
And did you expect him to follow through on what he has promised on a number of occasions through the campaign trail?
I expect Donald Trump to be a man of his word like he has been for decades. And that is a track record that we don't have with pretty much any politician in DC for the most part. Very few have that kind of a record of saying the same things and doing the same things, which are pro-American, for over 30 years.
You wrote on X.
See, and then that's the problem. That's the thing. I think that's the thing. So we live in a world, and let me tell you, when I was growing up, I wasn't a monster, but I wasn't just a good guy. But you know, when me and my guys ran around, man, and we did our things, man, you know, you got to be a man of your word. You say a thing, you do a thing. You do a thing, you say a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, now, you know, is anybody perfect? No, you might not be able to live up to all your words, but you at least gonna try. You know what I'm saying? So this keeps killing me when everybody's all surprised because they're like, man, we can't believe Trump really did this. Trump, he's been telling you this whole time what he's going to do. Matter of fact, the things that he told you he was going to do is the things that got him elected. So now, all of a sudden, you know, we're like, no, how dare he actually, you know, if I tell you, don't put your feet on my sofa or I'm going to punch you in your mouth. And you put your feet on my sofa and I punch you in your mouth. I wasn't lying. I gave you warning. So I don't get the way some people are thinking about this whole thing. But this guy really, he has me rolling though.
Realize how wrong that is, right?
Jake, you pleaded guilty.
I pleaded guilty. So is this how we do things in England? I say, yes, you can't see, you know, the forest for the trees, my dear.
Why did you plead guilty then?
Have you ever been in solitary confinement before?
Tell me why you pled guilty.
I'm asking you the question, dear. Have you ever been in solitary confinement? The answer is no. Have you ever had the media and the government simultaneously mischaracterizing your involvement in some sort of a politicized travesty that is being used to actually circumvent the law and certify an election that in every way, shape, and form has all the hallmarks of a regime change and corruption? I mean, you've never been in my shoes. You don't want to be in my shoes. You're too afraid to be in my shoes. That's why you're behind the camera that you're behind, and I'm behind the one that I'm behind.
And that's why I'm asking you to give me an insight into why you pleaded guilty.
I just gave it to you. But like I said, you can't see the forest for the trees, my dear.
Explain it to me. Go on.
No.
Now, this guy has me rolling with this whole little impersonation. And I don't blame him because, I mean, it's like talking to a wall, talking to this woman, man. And if you look at it, I'm like, really, I hope she really ain't that stupid. Like, I really hope she's not just that dull. You know what I mean? Because she's just there like, well, tell me. No, tell me. I mean, he's explaining to you the situation of duress. You know what I'm saying? He's explaining to you without explaining to you the position he was put in. And many folks been put in this position before, especially black folks, since we like to, you know, we want to make this a race thing everybody wants to make. I'm surprised black folks ain't pissed off because it's like, well, okay, you know, we always talking about the way they do us. Well, then you know these tactics are real. You know these tactics are real. You know that how they do this. And then what's happening is they put them in a position of duress. So, yeah, you're going to get to a point where you're like, you know what, look, they can hold you here for a year, 2 years, and you don't plead guilty, and you still end up sitting there wasted time. Or you just plead guilty and you start your time and get it over with. You know, so stop playing games, man. But this woman cracks me up, though, because she really does sit there looking like a pole. Just tell me why. Tell me why. And no matter what he says, she ain't getting in.
You would think if people had tried to stop the certification of Trump's win this time around.
I didn't try to stop the certification. That's the thing you people just don't seem to understand.
I wasn't necessarily saying you did.
Stopping the certification.
I wasn't necessarily saying you did. I was just asking a broader question.
But stopping the certification was not in the best interest of any Trump supporter. We wanted there to be a debate. It was in the best interest of the deep state. That's why I believe they staged the whole thing to begin with.
What
But
would
you know, in all honesty, that's about all the time I have, my dear.
So, I mean, he cracked me up. Like just watching that interview just really had me rolling. When I came across that one, I was like, man, this guy is an idiot. Like, I mean, and not an idiot like in a you dumb type of way, but like he just had me rolling because sarcasm was something else. And she was really like a wall. Like so she either couldn't understand it, didn't understand it, or or you really just that cold. You need to be playing poker for a living because if that's your poker face, man, you cold with it. I ain't gonna lie. But so he pretty much, and I'm gonna leave the descriptions and then leave the link in the descriptions like everything else. And you gotta watch the whole interview because man, he really goes off on it, and he goes off on BBC and a bunch of other things throughout it. But then it makes me laugh, man. It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh the way that the whole thing's played out. And the main reason for this episode is plain and simple because it's like they're mad at him for pardoning these people, and I've been seeing a lot of this coming out. And they're mad at him for the the immigration moves that he's made, all the bills that he signed, all the executive orders that he signed, and they're mad at him and they're trying to find ways to make. And then I hate when people are trying to make it all a race thing. Oh, he's racist and this and this and this and this and this and this and this. So it's okay to enslave me as long as you're black. I don't ride with that. I don't ride with that because see the whole thing that these people was trying to do really makes me feel like they were trying to enslave our people. I don't know about you, but if you ever actually go and study the Bible, and look into it, when they became slaves to when God's people became slaves to the Egyptians, they didn't run over there and beat them people across the head and make them slaves. What happened was the famine. When the 7 years of good happened, all the grain got stored up, and then when the 7 years of bad, and I might be wrong on some of these things, so don't give me word for word, but then the 7 years of bad happened, and it got to a point where the people couldn't afford to buy the food anymore that was stored up. So what they did was they became indentured servants. And then as one pharaoh died, another pharaoh came in. What ended up happening was instead of being indentured servants what they did was they gave themselves over to serve so that they could feed their families. And then as the pharaohs got changed out, over time, it became more than you being here for that to where now you're just slaves. So I really feel like that's kind of partly the direction that, it was like the beginnings of them trying to build this into the system to ruin our economy, to get us to the point to where we couldn't afford nothing. And then to the point to where, what, look, I'll sign me and my family over to you. You just make sure the lights stay on. You make sure the air stays on. You make sure the water stays on, and make sure we have food on the plate every week. And we'll become yours to serve, And then by the time my grandkids get here, it's not even about us being indentured servants. At that point, we'll just be slaves. My grandkids and my great grandkids would be slaves. And I honestly feel like that was the moves that are being made with the whole globalism thing. The whole moves is to take everybody and push us into an indentured serving position. They call it socialism. Everybody's owns everything, but in reality, only the ones on the top own anything, and then the ones on the top are the government. So unless you're actually a political person with a governmental power, you own nothing. And we'll get into. I'm going to do a whole another episode on that too, coming soon, because that socialism crap's something else to me. But that's kind of what they're aiming for. That's what I feel it was, So we got one more piece on here that I'm going to throw into this episode, and then we'll call this one over. But this little piece here cracks me up. So, like, we all heard about the Proud Boys, right? And they're supposed to be white supremacists and all this and all that. And then I had seen a little bit about it, you know what I mean? And I looked up a little bit, but I never really paid attention to them or nothing like that. And then I seen this guy here, and he cracks me up because let me tell you, if this guy is a white guy, supposed to be white supremacist, right? And if he's a white guy, then I'm an Italian. I'm just saying. Because first off, your name is Enrique. I don't know no white boys with the name Enrique. That's the first name. Second name is Torrio. Explain that one. White guy, white supremacist, Enrique Torrio. But whatever. But we're going to just take a little piece out of what he got to say about some things.
Is unfair to you?
I think starting the biggest one, because I don't think we have enough time on this show for me to talk about all those things, but I think the biggest problem that we had is the jury pool. It wasn't fair not only to the J6ers, but it's also unfair to those jurors to be seated. An example in my case, the judge asked, it was simple question. How do you feel about the Proud Boys and Enrique Tarrio? And they said a whole array of things. They said white supremacists, Nazis, all sorts of things.
But Enrique, assuming it is as it's supposed to be when you have a jury, when you have the voir dire process, and they are instructed to follow the evidence. Part of the evidence that was presented included text messages from you, correspondence as well. Do you think that those same pieces of evidence where you seem to condone and encourage, do you think, and by the way, part of those messages include saying things like, you're proud of my boys and my country, don't effing leave, make no mistake, we did this. How would that have been different in any other part of the country or a juror?
Those statements were made publicly on my public parlor. They weren't made privately, and they were made after the fact. Did I celebrate the situation that was happening at the Capitol as I saw it at that very moment when I posted it? Absolutely. I think a lot of America celebrated what happened at the Capitol. Whether they like it, whether some people like those statements or not, I mean, that's just reality and it's a fact.
A lot of people condemned it as well.
I wholeheartedly agree, and they have the rights to their opinion, and I'll defend their rights to say that, just as I defend the rights of anybody's opinion on what happened on January 6th. And I don't think it was a revision of history. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I want you to finish your point. There are members of law enforcement who were humbled by the experience out of anger and frustration and injury. In fact, there was a former D.C. Metro police officer, I'm sure you've heard of, Michael Fanone, who sustained injuries during the riot while defending the Capitol. He had this to say to the founder of the Oath Keepers, whose sentence was, of course, commuted, not pardoned, Stuart Rhodes. Listen to this.
This is what I would say to Stuart Rhodes. Go f*** yourself.
Okay.
You're a liar.
He's speaking to my colleague there. I can only assume that the message extends to all who were involved in what took place. What is your response?
My response is simple, Laura. Maybe some people don't like it, but Officer Fanone is an opportunist. He's gotten his situation, which is a poor situation to be in, but he is an opportunist. He's trying to sell
How is he an
books.
opportunist?
He
was violently attacked, though, Enrique. He was violently assaulted. He didn't welcome the opportunity to have that happen. What do you mean?
Well, I like to put things in compartments. I'm not saying that what he went through wasn't tragic, but right now he's an opportunist. He's trying to sell books. Like the other officer, Officer Dunn, he ran for Congress, failed at that, because, I mean, people see right through it. And I think the constituents of Maryland saw right through it. And
but your apology at sentencing addressed law enforcement. It didn't extend to them as well?
I defended the situation, and I would defend the plight of what happened to any officer that was there that day. But I'm talking about after the fact, right? After the fact, he's become an opportunist. I mean, he's become a contributor to multiple stations. It's not advocacy at this point. It goes beyond that. And I think his anger, I mean, you saw him. He's sitting there, he's cussing, he's angry. And I don't think it's
he was justified.
So I just threw that one in there because, man, you know, I was sitting there watching the whole interview. I'll leave the link down there. Y'all can watch it whether you want to or not. I don't know. But I've heard a lot of people sit there talking about, you know, well, you know, Trump even pardoned the racist dude, you know what I'm saying? And I just find it funny because I'm like, man, if that guy is a white guy, I'm thinking of it like, man, you're like a reverse, what was her name? Rachel Dolezal. You know, the white lady that played the black lady, white lady playing the black lady playing the white lady. You know, but yeah, he's white, dude, and I mean, you know, he got all y'all fool. Because Enrique, you know, I got family members in my family named Enrique, you know, and they Boricua or Puerto Rican, you know, so yeah, they're not no white boys, but whatever. But yeah, that's why I threw that one in there too. Because and he got pardoned also by Trump. You go watch the interview. There's a bunch of different stuff that they said about him, all these different things. So my main issue, we're gonna end it like this, is they're mad at Trump at the pardons. They're mad at Trump about the border issues. They're mad at Trump about a bunch of different things, you know what I'm saying? But the reality is he said he was going to do these things and he's going to do these things. You know what I'm saying? So don't be mad that he's going to do it because he said he was going to do it. Y'all going to try to stop him. You know, there's going to be people who try to stop him. And, you know, and some of the things I get if, you know, we're not going to agree on everything. People who like Trump don't even agree with everything he says. But for the majority, these things need to get done. He said he's going to do these things. You heard Stephen A. the other day. And I like Stephen A. because he's getting some balls on him, boy. Like, I mean, not that he didn't have no balls, but at the same time, too, though, the man, he really stepping out onto this political field, and I like that. You know what I'm saying? Because at least he don't just take one side. You know, he was riding with the Democrats, but at least he'll call you out on your bull. You know, I mean, and don't get it twisted. If Republicans get caught slipping shit, you call them out on their bull. But at least he doing that. So but he even said it the other day. Y'all mad because he doing what he said he's gonna do. So don't be mad that he's doing what he said he's gonna do. He wasn't lying. You can't be mad at a man for saying he's gonna punch you in your face if you do this, and then you do that and he punch you in your face. I told you don't do it. So, you know, it is what it is. But I appreciate y'all for showing up. Appreciate y'all listening today. And we're going to have some more content coming soon. I also got some interviews that I want to get done, and I'm going to work on getting those done soon. And I'll probably end up hitting y'all with one more episode this week. Do not forget to check out the merchandise that we have for y'all to support the channel, support us and going forward. Like I said, you're welcome. Leave your comments. I don't expect everybody to agree. I understand. Leave your comments. Let me know how you feel about things. It is what it is. We're not mad at you for sharing your opinions. So, humble, not timid. We appreciate your time. Another voice, another choice.
Getting mad at me, player, but they ain't taking my place. And I'm a misbreed, homie, so they hate my race. Or maybe I'm just ugly, so they hate my face. Either way it go, homie, take the hating away. Now I'm suited in my armor and I'm just ready to play. So now put me in coach, cause I'm just ready to play. See, I told y'all.